Alright. Back in my day, people used to outsmart each other by beating the fucking shit out of each other. Nowadays, you gotta outsmart people by outsmarting people. That fucking sucks. One of your closest allies turned evil? Punch him. Doesn't defeat him? Punch him even harder. What can I say? It's a good formula. Oh no, the final boss is literally as strong as me and as fast as me? Better just punch him harder. Like, come on, that shit was peak. Now, I don't want to discredit, like, the outplay ability, because that's, like, the entirety of part 2, right? Joseph just being outsmarting and being smart. What? So let me break down the first 4 parts. Part 1, sucks. Part 2, outsmarting. Part 3, punching. Part 4, all of it put together and made a nice, good show. And then we have part 5. Hey, and I liked part 5 for what it's worth, but it showed the signs of, less punch, more brain. By the time part 6 came out, the idea of what a stand should do changed dramatically. Now tell me if I'm wrong, but you won't because I'm right. Stands went from being more of a weapon to utility. Part 5 was like, oh, it's a hybrid, but part 6 was like, my stand doesn't punch things anymore. It's like a power-up. It's like something different. And this concept proved that it could work. Look at Abakio, or Abachio. His entire stand is utility. It doesn't punch things, but that doesn't mean it's not capable of throwing hands. But then by the time we get to part 6, things start to not be able to throw hands. And look, that can work, right? Don't get me wrong, it can work, but there's too much of that, right? We came here because at the end of the day, big men punching each other with big ghost. That's kind of what we're here for. And then there's the topic of, can people see stands? And it's always a little bit confusing, right? Because sometimes there is a good explanation, sometimes there's no explanation, sometimes it breaks the rules when it really shouldn't, when they have like no reason to even break the rules. So, why do I even bring up the visibility of stands anyway? It's not that I'm complaining about it, I honestly really don't care at the end of the day, but it just adds another layer of complexity. JoJo has always had the trope of like the enemies or the characters explaining what's happening because it's too hard to follow, but like, man, at one point you're reading an entire paragraph where like one guy, the guy's in the middle of throwing a punch and he's giving you an entire chapter's worth of explanation. Now, if you're thinking I'm over exaggerating, I can 100% guarantee that you don't read the manga and you watch the anime, because any motherfucker that's read part 8 knows that it will be like the intense final fight of the series, and they're like explaining their every move because the shit gets so complicated. And this is why part 5 works and part whatever the fuck doesn't, right? Because it's too hard to follow. And I don't mean it's too hard to follow like you don't understand a math question, right? I'm saying it's too hard to follow as in you have to take your like mind out of the anime zone, right? That you're watching or reading something, and you have to go into the understanding zone. You went from being engaged into a piece of media into just focusing on something because it's too hard to just understand on a whim. So yes, I know I kind of make jokes about it. I do understand part 3 stands are like incredibly simple, right? And then part 4 stands are like, I knew he was going to do that because I understand how the stand works and it's like quirks and stuff like that. And then part 5 stands, you're like, man, what clever writing. I didn't even think of that, but it does make sense if you like really think about it. And then you get to part 6 and you're like, okay, I'm following along, but it's kind of taking me out of the fight because I'm focusing a little bit too much on like how the stand works. And then we skip to part 8, right? And you're unironically not even paying attention to the fight. You're literally reading and trying to figure out what's going on. Now we have the worst case scenario. It is no longer fun to enjoy what you're writing. And I know anime fans are very vocal, right? And they're very diehard. But surely you must admit at some point, it's just not what it used to be. My entire philosophy is, you know what? If you're not harming anyone, enjoy what you want to enjoy. So if you sit here and genuinely tell me you enjoy the type of writing that part 8 has, more power to you, but like, come on, man. Like, did you not like the early stuff? Like, it's so drastically different. And I do believe that this is the reason that JoJo kind of fell off and the community died. Okay, saying died is a little exaggerated, but it's definitely not hype anymore. And I will admit, combined with Netflix's batch releases instead of building up hype with each episode, it does kind of kill a lot of the tension. And as much as we don't want to admit it, most JoJo fans are casual anime fans. It was one of the one you go, hey, I recommend Attack on Titan, I recommend JoJo, I recommend whatever, right? It's a starter anime. It's how I got most of my friends into anime because it was a light-hearted, it was fun, it was sometimes really cool and badass and easy to understand and digest. Imagine a world where part 1, 2, and 3 writing was more like part 6, 7, and 8 writing. Would it still be the go-to anime for new fans to get into? Will it still be the fun, exciting thing? No, it'll be the anime that's too complicated. It'll be, hey, once you get into anime, I recommend you try out JoJo because fuck man, you're learning how to read subtitles, let alone an entire essay. And that's why the community for JoJo was so fun and so out there and so outgoing, because you could have a scientist enjoy JoJo, and you could have a human that has a brick for a brain and enjoy JoJo. But now it's just like, not fun, right? It's just not fun. And I'm gonna have a lot of trouble explaining how part 8 is to people that haven't read it, but to people that have read it, do you get the same feeling as like when something funny happens in that part, it almost feels like the writer going, oh fuck, I kind of forgot this show was sometimes supposed to be funny and lighthearted, because the world is so convoluted and so complex that the writer's like, I kind of forgot that this is supposed to be funny sometimes. And I don't get how the JoJo writers don't see this as a wake-up call. You are spending so much time explaining how things work and the world around you and stuff like that, that you're forgetting other key moments and key parts of your show, because it's that complicated and that dense. Is that not like a time to step back and go, you know, let's chill. Let's just actually make something enjoyable. I do realize I'm being very harsh on part 8, so I do have a message for people that really enjoy part 8. This is really just my opinion. It's just a shame that my opinion is right most of the time. JoJo went from being one of my favorite animes of all time to unironically being something I do not enjoy. That is really hard to do. Like, I watched the One Piece anime, and I admit, the pacing is fucking horrible, and I still stuck through it. But there is hope. JoJo Part 9. Now, we don't know much about it, but we know it exists, and we know it's the last JoJo thing ever, really. And here's what I hope happens. I hope the writers of JoJo understand what the fans want, and I hope the writers of JoJo understand what they want, right? It's very obvious the writers don't want to do the big man punch each other thing, right? It's outdated to them. They don't like it. Ask any JoJo fan who their favorite character is. It's not going to be like anyone from Part 8. It'll probably be from Part 7, Part 3, and 4. But JoJo Part 9 is supposed to be the big finale. This is the end of JoJo as a series, presumably. It needs to make everyone happy. So how do we do this? Well, I hate to say it, but JoJo's Eyes of Heaven is our best bet. And I'm not saying copy the story exactly of JoJo's Eyes of Heaven, but I'm saying we need to get all of the characters to somehow be alive and meet up together. Yes, you do have the entire story of 7, 8, and if they do go this route, 9, but no one's really as invested in it as they were back in the day of the old stories. And if JoJo truly does continue this universe storyline, it's gonna be such a letdown for the final part of JoJo. And you might be thinking, if all of the characters do come back, won't the newer characters be outshined by the pure strength and speed and all of that stuff by the older characters? Well, no. The good old saying, when life gives you lemons, right now JoJo has a lot of lemons. Remember when I said the newer stands are turning more into utility-based power-ups? Those are the lemons, but we can easily turn those lemons into lemonade. You need to find a healthy balance between the new characters being more of a supportive character, supporting role, but not as in not a main character. Think about all the possibilities of, yes, you have the heavy hitters, the front lines, you got the Jotaros, you got all of that, you've got the Crazy Diamond, all of that stuff, but then it can be comboed with all these utility-based stands, all of these characters which will thrive off like combinations and teamwork. When you read the later parts of JoJo's, it is very rarely a 1v1 against a stand where they just beat the shit out of each other. It is when they work as a team and outsmart each other. Imagine that type of writing combined with the simple heavy hitters that just punch people. It can work, and you can make everyone happy. You can get the old characters, and you like the guys who like me, who just like people punching each other. And then if you really do, truly from the bottom of your heart, enjoy the more complex writing, those characters can be extremely helpful in very specific scenarios. Alright, let's take a step back for a minute. How likely is it for all of these characters and all of the things I just said to happen? Well, sadly, if we're looking at it through a critical lens and what the author has said before, he genuinely thinks the old universe should have ended in part 6. He does not actually want to bring them back. Trust me, all I want for JoJo's is for it to come back. It's in a fucking pit right now. The community doesn't care, the writing's in shambles, but it does have that possibility to come back and work properly. But it really does look like it's not going to happen. It looks like he's going to continue with the second universe's storyline. Characters that we don't really care about are going to continue to develop and stuff. And overall, feels like JoJo's going to just quietly die, to be honest. But that's not what JoJo deserves. It really does truly deserve to go out with a bang. It's gotten so many people into anime. It's so good for the community. It's changed so many people's lives. It doesn't deserve to just fizzle out and die. The JoJo writers know what we want. They know what the old fans want, and they know what the new fans want. They know everything. They have the ammunition to go out with a bang and make something perfect for the final ending. Will they do it? He said he's committed to ending the old storyline and he's going on with the second one. The thing is called JoJo Lands, for crying out loud. There's such a sliver of hope that, like, JoJo Lands is the land of JoJo. Like, come on, man. Like, I know that's a bit of a reach, but, like, please, dude, it's so close. You can do it. We can do it. JoJo might not just die a pathetic death. It's just all up to the writers. Anyway, that's really about it. There's not much else to say. I wasn't really like shitting on JoJo as like things I don't really like about it, or like, man, this anime is better than this anime. It was purely just out of the goodness of my heart, honestly. Unlike my Attack on Titan video where I like kinda had a sour spot for it, this one was like, I really want to see it work out. And I hope it does. It's a good show, it's a good anime, it's a good manga, but like, it's kind of fallen off recently. So if you didn't know, the author of JoJo has taken a massive hiatus, which is fair. He's been writing JoJo for so many years. He deserves to end it here and now if he really wanted to, but he's not. He's going to come back. So in the meantime, we can all just watch our other things. Maybe you're waiting for Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, whatever. Do what you want. But I'm kind of curious. Do you guys think that if they do continue with the new storyline and they don't do anything big and special, do you think it will turn out okay, or will it fucking suck? Personally, I think it'll suck. I just think it's not the right thing to do.